the state ordering the FBI and the DEA to release, whatever they have in their possession about an investigation about Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And the presidency has reacted to that to say there is nothing in that. In fact, they called it a political nonsense, and there is nothing anybody should pay attention to that. They dismissed that particular report on the U.S. court order for FBI and the DEA to release Tinubu files. That nothing that needs to be said that hasn't been said. Nothing is new. Actually, we spoke to a legal practitioner earlier, but now we're speaking to, we have with us in this place Mr. Dari Mudasiro, and he will be giving us his own opinion on this matter. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Mudasiro.
You're very much welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's a privilege to be here.
All right. I'd like to confirm some things. I linked you an obedient. Is that right?
Well, I wouldn't want to say that I'm an obedient. I want to say that I'm a Nigerian.
Okay.
And
I supported
much more than that. Okay. Let's start with this, because when you deal with certain fundamental issues,
right,
and people are viewing it all the time from a political angle, we are not doing ourselves the best as a nation. Prior to being, how can you call a Nigerian? I listened to the legal practitioner earlier in person of Barrister Oyedokun.
Yes.
And because my perspective this morning, I had to be very factual.
Yes, please.
And let's call a spade a spade. It's not about me. It's not about the election. It's not about the political party. It's about the country. And we all need to understand that the life of a country, if truly we are looking at Nigeria being a country that would last, the life of Nigeria as a country that must last will transcend myself, the political party,
right,
and the current administration. And so we must be thinking about the future of the country. What had been our antecedent?
All right.
These are some of the issues. So I am Oludari Mudasiro, a Nigerian, a public analyst, an economist, and a business person.
Fair enough. That you'd rather take and speak solely as a Nigerian.
Exactly.
Exactly. Let's put it that way. What's your impression of this latest development?
Well, for me,
are you bothered?
I was bothered.
Oh, really?
I was bothered. And the reason I have to use that is the fact that, you see, the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria should have been an office that is protected for many reasons. I heard your colleague asking the moral justification, the moral issues. And when you see people disregard moral, when you see people speak only around legality, they talk around the issue of the practicality of the law. We talk about how sacrosanct the decision from a court over morality, forgetting the fact that the whole body of knowledge that founded the legal practice also considered some level of morality. And if and when it affects certain persons, if and when it affects certain interests, morality should be disregarded. That should give us, should raise a big concern for us as citizens of a country where we are hoping to have as the best place on earth. So that was why I said I was concerned, because it shouldn't have happened. And now it has happened. So we already have him there.
What shouldn't have happened?
It shouldn't have happened. If we have issues that were that strong. Now, I heard Daniel earlier when he was talking about the forfeiture of over 450,000 US dollars. How many years ago? I would have loved us to look at that. Let us look at the valuation of that amount of money at that time. I mean, I don't have that much. But if you ask me to forfeit whatever it is that I have, I'm going to appeal that case.
Absolutely.
I'm definitely going to appeal that case if I'm sure. And I'm talking about a system where you know that the legal process can justify and that, investigation will be done to clarify and say if truly that fund was mine, if it was my ad-end fund. For God's sake, I'm a farmer. You can, by all implication, you want me to forfeit a tenth of my farm. I would appeal it. And so if somebody is now telling me, oh, it was just a civil case and they've asked him to forfeit it and he forfeited it and that ended the case. Now, for God's sake, it doesn't, you are not protecting the moral integrity of that office. So what you're telling me is in another 100 years, somebody can vie for that office with so much. I mean, if I've done 10 years of criminal, so I've done 10 years of this particular case. So I'm now like in my 60 and I'm contesting and I've had criminal cases from the age of 20 and I stopped being a criminal at the age of 30. So I've had another 20 years in between the last criminal case and when I'm vying for the office of the President of the Federal Republic.
All right, Mr. Mudashiru.
These are some of the issues.
My point exactly.
But when people like us speak, there is that coloration of being political. But that's why I said, no, forget it. I'm going to speak as a Nigerian.
All right.
I'm going to speak as somebody who believes that a country like ours needs to be run by people of no questionable character.
Absolutely. Talking about no questionable character, Mr. Mudashiru, like you rightly pointed out, I was actually trying to press our former guest on that. Let's forget about the legal system in Nigeria for once and look at the moral aspect. That money is a huge sum of money.
Yeah.
And I was actually concerned that, don't you think a lot of people will be concerned that, okay, how is he forfeiting that much? And I also mentioned that he was just an accountant with mobile. So how could he have gotten that much? That was what I was driving at. But he chose to be professional and legal since he's a lawyer to dwell on that aspect. But my question to you, Mr. Mudashiru, is this. As a Nigerian, looking at this case, the presidency is telling us that there is nothing to worry about. Some people might say, well, the presidency might be right because before the US, and I still put it to the former guest then, when I told him that for the courts to have ordered the FBI and the DEA to release those reports, initially, see, Mr. Mudashiru, the FBI and the DEA, they issued global responses, okay, which is refusal to accept or deny, which means, don't you think, Mr. Mudashiru, that there might still be some, details that might be damning to the person of Mr. President and to Nigeria as a whole. And don't you? And that's number one. Number two, if that is the case, why is the presidency telling Nigerians not to worry about it? What are the implications, okay, of all this drama?
Well, to start with, are there other facts? Well, the FBI will now have to respond to the court order. All right. Like the legal practitioner said, freedom of information bill in the US, the United States would always want to be seen as being a country that is supporting democracy, advancing the interest of good governance around the world. All right, that's one. Now, with that, if there are no further information, if there are no facts, if they don't have things that they don't want the public to have, then why would they have refused at first? You see, even in Nigeria, when you get the court judgment, when you get the right court judgment, the proper court judgment, you have it, all the pages are stamped, dated. We've seen cases where people would present different judgments, only for you to later find out, go and check page 10 of this particular one, you check page 10 of this other one to find discrepancies. But when you can certify that this document had been released by the organization that is deemed to be in possession of the original document. I mean, you say something is in public domain, something is in public domain that nobody has actually certified, that no particular agent can be said to be the one that has signed it, that nobody can say, oh, this stamp is the official seal and stamp of this organization that released the document. Different persons at different times have gone through the back door, through whatever door, because they want to have access to those documents. So you cannot say how correct, how authentic those documents were until we now have the right organization. I mean, you're talking about the United States here.
Absolutely.
The FBI, the DEA, those are organizations that you and I know. I mean, consider the case, even a United States case of the death of the president. That was not released until very recently that new information came out. People were like, wow, you mean this could have happened in the United States about a United case matter? How much more the case and the matter of another country?
Do you see this as political? Because Barrister Oyedekun alluded to that. Because again, like you said, United States, they are strong, they are powerful. But some people will say the United States, they are not saints themselves.
Of course.
So do you see any political angle to this?
We have never seen a country where the population is an aggregation of saints. Even you go to the Vatican City. I mean, you go to the Vatican City should be the place where everybody that lives there should be saints. But even at the Vatican City, they are not saints. So you go to the Holy Lands, whether to our Holy Land or to Jerusalem, they are not saints. So there are no nation states, there are no countries where the aggregates or the populations are saints. So we are not talking about saints or no saint here.
Right.
We're talking about the fact that when you have a country that believes in the sanctity of their system, and every time you find a fight in the United States, you see that it's always a fight to protect the system. It's not a fight to either protect or to vilify a person. It's about the system, because they know that once you begin to destroy, once you begin to nibble at the system in manners that will destroy the system, you are destroying the future of that nation.
All right. Now, Mr. Mudesero, what should, in all of this, what are you worried about? What should Nigerians be worried about? The FBI and the DEA have been compelled to release whatever they have with them in that investigation May 2nd. Nigerian government has responded to say nothing is to be expected. There's nothing that needs to be said that hasn't been said. That's the government of this nation responding to that, at least by what the media spokespersons of the president have said, Bayo Onanuga, Daniel Bola himself. And the US as a country is not the one saying this. It's just the court that is telling the FBI and the DEA, to release what they have on them because of the suit filed by Greenspan. And as it is right now, just like we have started, why should Nigerians be bothered?
Well,
that's the question.
Well, for me,
the country has responded.
I want to say that Nigerians shouldn't be bothered. All right.
How do you mean?
And this is it. Now, I often tell people,
Right.
don't anticipate facts. Let fact come and speak for itself. If what the FBI would release or the DEA would release will be fact, as the fact comes, we deal with it. So that we are not heating up the polity unnecessarily. So that we are not making Nigerians... See, truth of the matter, like I've always said to people, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not and can never be my enemy. He's the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I respect him as such because I'm a citizen of the Federal Republic and I must respect that. So why should we be... It's not, you don't say an organization, an institution, or a country of repute says a thing and you say it's errant nonsense. When you need them, when you need their validation for economic purpose, whatever is it that they say to you from there, it doesn't sound nonsensical. When you need their benefit, you don't see them as saying rubbish. When you need them to validate certain things for you, and they have to do it through their justice system, you don't see that system as being nonsensical. But whenever they say anything that you think, oh yes, this is really questioning certain things about us, we turn around and say, oh, don't mind them. Now, but to also say, if I happen to have been in the office of Bayo Ononuga today, I would also probably say the same.
Absolutely, he's doing his job.
If I happen to have been another Buhala handling the president, I would probably also do the same. But if I happen to be in those offices as of today, I would have told Mr. President, don't even let us issue any statement about it. If truly what they are saying is true, oh, it's going to be inconsequential, it's going to be, yes, you don't respond to an inconsequential matter.
All right, Mr.
That would have been, because you asked, and that would have been my perspective to it, because when the facts are out, we then would respond and react to the facts.
All right, Mr. Mudashiru, let us look at it from this angle. If truly the FBI and the CIA, and the DEA rather, not the CIA, let's leave the CIA for now. They are not affected by that ruling for now yet. So if truly the FBI and the DEA have some, damning facts about the president, some people will say, and I'd like to know if you agree with that, some people will say, see, Nigerians should forget about it. It will never get to the public. Here's what I mean. The United States, they are good deal makers. So some opinion in some quarters will tell you that these guys are good. They are good deal makers. If they truly have anything against Mr. President, they won't just release it to the public straight away. They would first contact him and try to make a deal, try to strike a deal. Nigeria, for instance, Nigeria is a big nation. President Tinubu is a big fish here. We are talking about Nigeria. We have natural resources. I mean, we have crude and all that. So if they have something on Mr. President, do you think they'll just, release it to the general public? So some people will tell you that, hey, if they truly have something on him, they're going to try to cut a deal. Rest assured that your president will take that deal to save his face. What do you think about that?
Well, you know that nations of the world have survived on deal making. It's only the unintelligent nations that chooses to run their affairs and run their days without making the right deals. If I have an advantage over you, there's what you call the comparative advantage. Whatever advantage I have is what I use. So, but then again, going by what you've said, yes, it's possible. That's why I was raising the morality issue earlier. That why don't we often go after people who we know that the kind of fact that other nations would have against such persons would be minimal. So that we never get to a point where a situation like this begins to play out, where deals that will not favor the nations would have to be made as a result of certain facts that are in the hands of, whoever, other enemies or foes, whichever one you want to consider it. Because we need to understand, like I've often said to people, You were asking about the diplomatic implication, the international, how other nations will view us in the Committee of Nations. And some people are waving that away with the wave of hands. And I often, every time I get responses that do not bring into cognizance those kind of facts, it beats my, it gives me great pain that these people don't know the implication of having facts that can be used against your nation. Either in security matters, in economic matters, there was a period in the world where drug issues was a big issue. And Nigeria was perceived to be one of the worst countries to deal with along that line. But if this happens to be partly true, would it bring us back to that? And these are some of the things. But in terms of the fact that whether the United States can make deal, of course, there is no doubt in that fact. And if they have to use it as an advantage of them, they might.
All right.
And it will be unfair and it will be painful for Nigeria.
As we go home, as we question on this matter, we have less than 5 minutes or thereabout for this. I made mention of something earlier that is a court in the US. Of course, it's the justice system that has compelled the FBI and the DEA to release what they have on them and not just do the global thing. And it's not really the American government that is making a position on whatever is going on Nigeria.
Yeah.
Somebody went to court, instituted a case, had some institutions as part of the suit, and now the court has said, whatever you guys are, please make it public, and that's all.
Yeah.
It's not really a country against or towards another country. And that's why I ask, why should we be bothered? The earliest, because some persons have been saying, maybe this is just sensation. It's just one of those things. Or it's just a continuation of the conversation that happened before the elections, at best.
And you heard my perspective to that. And that's why I said, if it's a court, let the court do their thing. And once the facts are out, they will respond to the fact. So there's no reason for us to, anybody that wants to sensationalize it for whatever reason you're sensationalizing it for. But the fact is, once the facts are out, and we can say, oh, this is truly what it is, then we will respond, or we should respond as a
party. Are you thinking that something significant might be released? Beyond what we know?
Whatever significant or insignificant is not even the issue here. The issue for me is that once such things are released, and we can trust the organization that has released it, and we can certify that this information is fact. It's no longer, it's not even for today. Whatever is released
how do you certify?
Whatever is released now is for tomorrow.
I'm asking, how do you say if you can trust? Is it because it's FBI? Is it because it's CIA? Okay, not CIA, DEA. Or, okay, will you trust them? If it's the DSS in Nigeria or the NIA in Nigeria, I can see your body position already.
No, well,
that come out with fact like this, will you believe? Or is because it's FBI and DEA and you think, their words are infallible?
Well, I wish we could have more time to deal with this, but the truth of the matter is that there are no infallible organizations. There are no infallible institutions. You must always understand that any institution where you would always have to rely on the judgment of a person, okay, that certain persons are influenced, certain persons are, so we don't, but the fact of the matter, like I said, is that some of this fact that is said to have been in public domain, some of them were gotten through the back door. And that's the only thing I'm just trying to say. That now, if it is released officially by the FBI and it is released officially by the DEA, we can now say, according to the document released by the FBI, according to the document released by the DEA. So you can reference those documents and you can certify that whatever is being released can be worked upon. That's my perspective.
All right, Mr. Mudashiru. Yeah. For once, let us forget about the FBI and the DEA for once. As a Nigerian, Mr. Mudashiru, as a patriotic Nigerian, and you are completely entitled to your own opinions, how has this affected your opinion of Mr. President, and I'm talking about the president of Nigeria now. Looking at all this drama as a Nigerian, how do you feel as a Nigerian? Just imagine yourself in a community of people from other nations. I mean, sometimes you can attend a conference and you see yourself in the midst of people from many other nations. How has this affected, I mean, your opinion of Mr. President as a person, as a Nigerian? What do you think about all this?
Well, what I think is that with facts now available, there were certain opportunities that were missed in the earlier years of Mr. President. Of course, that can be very painful. I see a man that didn't fight when he needed to fight. I see a man, and of course, sometimes
certain opportunities missed. How do you?
When you were asked to forfeit certain aspect of your earnings, I would have expected a fight. And such a fight would have probably made this case, okay, a much better one for us as Nigerians to defend anywhere. All right? We're not putting up a fight then and having to come now to do whatever we are doing is not so good for us as a people. But of course, it's a lesson for many of us as young people to learn that in life, whatever is it you believe in, okay, whatever value you hold there, please protect them because you never can tell. I mean, I'm sure when that happened years ago, probably didn't see himself as wanting to become the president of the Federal Republic. But now, in retrospect, probably would have said, well, come, I could have put up a good fight. And this old mess would not have been there. I mean, we've never had any president like that, in the history of our current democracy, where anybody have had to say, oh, fight this matter, fight that matter, right? Externally. But I mean, for me.
So do you think this toga is the one that he might have to live with for the rest of his political life?
Well, as a strong political figure, I feel that he needs to live with the toga. Yes, and it doesn't make him, if he's able to spin the economic situation of Nigeria around, if he's able to spin the security situation around, that toga becomes inconsequential because Nigerians would only look at him and history will speak of him as the president.
And I'll take that as your parting short. From my end here, what do you think of his handling of the nation right now?
Oh, I wish I could.
Let's take some indices.
Yes.
Economy, security, I think those two.
Having a commander-in-chief.
It's almost 2 years. By next month, it will be 2 years.
Having a commander-in-chief of the armed forces in recent time, I think in that regard, he's done a much better job. I don't know how he's done it, but I think he's doing a good job. But on the economy, which for me is the most important, we haven't had the best. We haven't had the best. So that's it on the economy.
Oh, okay. All right. From me, I'd like to put this question to you, just like I asked our last guest, Barrister Oyedokun. On your own part, what are the possible diplomatic implications of this? But again, let's not just focus on the legal aspects. I talk about the moral aspect. So what do you think are the possible diplomatic implications?
Well, the interesting thing about Nigeria and our ability to manage our diplomatic ties and diplomatic relations, we've done it over the years. I'm sure we will come out of it. Of course, it's not the best for us, all right? It's not the best for us. There is no nation that will have a case like this against their president and will jubilate in the diplomatic community for having a good... No, it's not...
So sorry to cut in. Just let me give you a clear example here. Before now, as a Nigerian, when you travel to other countries, I've seen it firsthand. I mean, you see the way they search you. Once you carry a Nigerian passport, you see the way they treat you. There's little respect for Nigerians. Now we are having this on our own presidents. Well, do you think it will worsen the situation for Nigerians?
No, well, I don't see it. I don't see it worsening the situation beyond what it had been. It's better now for Nigerians. I know what I'm saying.
With all this drama, you think it will be better?
It's better now for Nigerians. And that's why I said we would manage our diplomatic relations, all right, as a nation, because I don't see the issue against, quote and unquote, one Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I mean it. One Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he was not the president of the country. When that fact are out,
Okay,
we'll
take it from there. All right. Mr. Dare Mudashiro is an analyst and, of course, very importantly, a Nigerian, just like we are already. Thank you for your time and your take on this program today. And trust us to be on this matter and other matters. What we do here is to speak to the issues that really matters and to have frank and deep conversations about these issues. Thank you once more for being here.
You're very much welcome. Thank you.
I'm in Nigeria, prosper. Femi Ojo is my name. We make a return tomorrow morning, God willing, for another fresh edition of Morning Spring. We usually live on our Facebook, Instagram, and X pages, but very importantly, our YouTube channel at Western Spring TV, 7 a.m. every weekday. Do enjoy the best of your day. Stay alive.
And I'm Emeka Daniel. I'd like to say thank you once again for joining us. We have a fresh edition tomorrow. You do not want to miss it. Please join us again tomorrow for a fresh one. Do have a wonderful day. Good morning.